Okay, it's Wednesday night. Time for a live tech talk. And Dallas he's got sick kids he's taking care of tonight. So I don't I don't miss those days. So he won't be able to make it here tonight, but I'm here, so let's do this thing. Just don't ask me Buick questions because it'll be like, Dustin Stark, you're the first in Killer Beef. Fubar! It's Fubar the Axe. Always coming in with a thumbs up blazing Fubar. Oh man, Jason's Garage, Uncle Squirrel, what's happening, brother man? April D, Adam Lemus, help. You need help. What do you need help with, Adam? Jason Fitch, Joe K, George Barney, Greg McDonald, Andrews Justice, Terrence Humor. Man, you guys are just running in here. All right, Jerry Franks, Reggie Shorey. What's going on, Mr. Will? Frozen in New Zealand, Bruce W. Wednesday night, yes. Adam Williams, I'm shooting blue smoke out of my carb at startup. Oh, Jesus, I don't know, man. Blue smoke out of your carb at startup. Oh, God. Geez, that's a good one. I don't know. Let me dwell on that. Maybe somebody else has got an answer for that, right? Blue carb out of his smoke at blue smoke. Oh Jesus, see, it's dyslexic. Blue smoke out of his carb at startup. Okay. Meth injection. I never say hi to you, bro. Meth injected. How are you doing tonight, man? One big puff. I mean, I don't know why the smoke would go towards the intake tract and not the exhaust. Does it start normally? I mean, does it run with a miss? I mean, are you hitting on all the cylinders? Blue smoke PCV. Bruce W. I think Bruce W's got it. How about a stuck PCV valve? Seems like it's not timed right. Well, is it blue smoke or is it black smoke? Or is it just smoke in general? I mean, is it running when it's putting the smoke up, or is it not starting and it's shooting smoke up? Ricky Show, where's the giant asteroid? We need a giant asteroid. I believe that we as a civilization are way overdue for a giant asteroid, but that's just me. Let's see, running backwards. Stuck open PCV will act like a vacuum leak in my experience. Yeah, a stuck open PCV will, but I'm wondering if it's not. Okay, so here's the situation. How about this? But again, see, why would the smoke come up? Right, so let's just say the baffle that the PCV sits in, right, and I've had this. I had a Toyota years and years ago. I had a customer that had a Toyota, right? It came to me after it had been to like 5 or 6 different shops. Nobody could figure this thing out. And it took me forever, but I finally cracked the case, right? Detective Tony. So what would happen was they would drive this thing, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, it would just start chugging and missing and bucking and backfiring, and a huge cloud of blue smoke would come out the tailpipe, right? But it was intermittent. It wouldn't do it all the time. So you'd go through this car, right? And this happened a couple of times now. They bring me the car, and it's like, okay, everything looks good, man. The plugs look okay. Tune up, everything's right. You know what I mean? Okay. Tried everything, but the car would never do it. You hand it back to him, and he'd come back 2 days later, 3 days later, and he says, "It just did it to me," right? And you drive it again for a whole day. So what happened was, this was a Toyota, so like a Corolla. I'm going to say like it was a 1989, 1980, late 1980s Toyota, right? They say Corolla Camry. What happened was this guy was really bad with his oil changes, and it got all coked up on the inside of the valve cover. So what would happen was there's a baffle. Okay, so you get the PCV valve goes into the top of the valve cover. There's a baffle underneath to keep oil from splashing up in there. But that whatever oil does get in there is supposed to be able to drain back. Okay. Well, because it was so coked up, it made a pool of oil. So as you would drive over the course of, let's say, a day or two, that pool would fill up. Then when you made, I believe it was either a left or right turn, I don't remember, but when you made a left or right turn, that oil would slosh up, get sucked into the PCV valve, and the motor would run on pure oil. It was just like, and when I tell you this thing would chug diesel, huge clouds of black smoke and blue smoke rather, and then it would disappear just as fast as it happened. But that's what it was. Pulled the valve cover off, and that was it. Oh, the baffle around the PCV valve was all just gummed and coked up so the oil couldn't drain away. It would just build up, build up, build up. And then you would make a turn. When you make a turn, it would slosh over, get sucked right into the PCV, and it was all chaos. Oh, let's see. Okay, question for Tony and Invisible Dallas. He's really not here. Well, here, I'll tell you what. Substitute Dallas. There we go. Okay. Aluminum dry shift. Should I put anti-seize before I press in the new U-joints? No, you shouldn't have to. No, Dallas is home taking care of sick children. Buick Performance Support Shop. Hey, Tony and Dallas. This is Dallas tonight. Dallas is president. Invisible with the big blue is very present. Yes. Need some custom wood coasters. Able to UT, what does a bit of backfire popping when I let off the accelerator mean? Could it be a rich fuel mixture? No, it means that you've got a vacuum leak. You've got not a vacuum leak, an exhaust leak. You've got a small gap at the gasket or flange or someplace in the pipe that when you let off the gas, it's sucking air in. And when the air gets sucked into the exhaust, it'll ignite vapors that are on their way through. Yes, Big D. We all hope. Mr. Will says I'm sure he's watching. You hear me, Dallas? Okay. Jonathan Demo, what is a good cam for a 7318 to bring it to life a bit and still be a good street car? Look into the Hughes Whiplash cam. Or a similar grind. I know Hughes doesn't give me any money. I've used it. I have one in a 273 that I absolutely love. Look at the Hughes Whiplash cam, or you could just copy the specs off of that and look at the other manufacturers. If you prefer a different manufacturer, you get a better deal, whatever it happens to be. If you look at the Hughes Whiplash cam for that 318. Mike Batista, purple shaft in my 318-72 Dart car did for 13s. Which purple shaft? See, that was the whole point of that video I did the other day. A purple shaft is not one cam. A purple shaft is that whole line of cams. So which purple shaft cam? The most common purple shaft cam was the 284, 284, 471. That was the street Hemi grind. That was the one that most people like, that's the purple shaft. But there was at least, for the small block, there was at least 10 different camshafts in that range. Mr. Rodder in the house, where is he? I don't know. I just know it had purple paint on it. Yeah. But you see, that's why I did that in that video, because the one we did yesterday, the direct connection video, because I keep hearing I had the purple cam in the car, but there is no purple cam. They were all purple. All of the high performance cams available through direct connection, with the exception of the rollers. Because I had a couple of rollers from the direct connection catalog, and they didn't have that purple on them, which led me to believe that it was done at the foundry or let's say at the grinder to differentiate. Okay, so this stack of cams is going to get ground for regular production, and this stack of cams is going to get ground to a different. So just for easy, quick identification, it's those purple ones over there get ground for these specs, and these regular uncoated ones, they get ground the normal. I believe that's where it came from. Somebody said, it's machinist bluing. No, it's not machinist bluing. Okay, let's see. Oh, John Wilburn, what's happening, man? Bad Tree Productions is here. UT, would you autograph my unicorn purple cam? Yeah, Jesus, man. Let's see. Mr. Will Tone, random question. Did your Mustang have any work done, like exhaust or bolt-ons? No, right? Zero. Zero bolt-ons. I did lots of work to that car, but zero bolt-ons. And nothing that your eye could see. Fubar just put up the link to the AHRA online. And remember, Dallas has a new channel called Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. So you definitely want to check that out. Mr. Rodder, Rodder. Let's see. Rude Mopar dude, Uncle Tony, been busy in the shop. I posted a new video on the Ram TRX I'm working on. Anybody who's interested in a Ram TRX, head over to the Rude Mopar dude's channel. Steve Sadusky, wow, thanks for the history of the purple cam. Yeah, but that's, I'm telling you, man, it's just a Fubar put the link to our merch. Thank you, sir. You know, you want to buy a UTG t-shirt or whatever the hell else we sell? I don't even know. I don't handle this stuff. Uncle Crystal and Uncle Kathy do that. But yes, Fubar just put the link to our stuff and pays the electric bill and all kinds of other things. What the hell was I just saying? I don't remember. Oh, so yeah, it comes up all the time. I put the purple cam in my car. Oh, which purple cam? They're all purple. Paul Cabazzola, just watched the latest Slant 6 video. Did anyone ever make a cross-slow head for the Slant 6? No, Paul. Not that I know of. Nobody's ever actually made one. There is, if you search the internet, right, you'll find pictures of a Hemi Slant 6, and it has Chrysler firepower valve covers on it. Okay, it's photoshopped. It's not real. Papillon Cycles. I bought a 72 Cuda in 92, and the guy said it has the purple cam in it. See, that's what I mean. It just had a Lopi Chrysler cam. Yeah. Mr. Will saying hi to Ultra Kathy. Yeah, she's probably lurking in the background. John Wilburn just put up the link to Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. So you go check that out. Go subscribe and do all of that stuff. Bruce W. Tony, how's the old dude with those Fords getting on? I haven't seen him. Steve, I haven't seen him. I've just been, ever since we moved into the shop, I've pretty much cut myself off from the outside world. We was just talking about that with Kathy last night. It's like, I have to get out of this shop. Right. But I'm here from early in the morning until now I go home for a couple hours, I eat, I take a siesta, and I come back here, and it's 7 days a week. And so I need to start getting away from the shop a little bit. I've really isolated myself from the world. Danny Boyd says he took a stock 318 cam and painted it purple. That's worth 4/10, man. There you go. Uncle Kathy's in there. Let's see. Tony, greetings from the UK. Can I ask what oil is best for a 66 Austin Mini? It's burning a load of oil after a service. The mechanic said it's shot, but it wasn't smoking before the service. Well, that service evidently broke loose some gum and stuck the oil rings. That probably would happen. I mean, I'm not a psychic. I can't be inside your engine, but that's probably what happened. The service that he did stuck an oil ring. Your best bet with that, oh God. So you absolutely going to need a zinc oil in that. So a Shell Rotella, Delvac, any of the oils that have zinc in them will work for you in that. You might want to throw in some Marvel Mystery Oil. You probably don't have a hard mechanical problem when you got a broken ring or a bent ring or anything like that. It's just gum. So do some homework on your own and figure out what you would need to de-gum the oil rings in an otherwise good motor, because you said you didn't have a problem until after the service. So that's probably what happened. If you can't get it to idle, just tell everyone it has a cam. Don't you remember when you were a kid? That was the thing, right? I remember when I was like 17, and so it's like, what do you got, right? I had a stock 446 pack in my Charger, and I remember I had a manual choke on the thing, so that as you're cruising through a crowd of people, you pull the choke and just right through, running like full Richard, and it goes ta-dunk, 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 ta-dunk. It sounds like it's got huge compression and a monster cam. Oh, this thing's stuck. There we go. Let's see. Question for you. I'm looking to get Andrew Simmons. I'm looking to get a 70s Lycian. Oh, Jesus. I have no idea what that is. Andrew? UT, what is your best classified place for parts, Facebook versus Craigslist or OfferUp? I've never gone on OfferUp. Craigslist is like a shadow of its former self. There's nothing on Craigslist. So generally now it's been Facebook Marketplace. J. Russell Finch, when is the marathon with your brother going to happen? Which brother? Let's see. Lincoln, Rocky Myers. Oh, I have to go back to the question. Andrew Simmons, I'm looking to get a 70s Lincoln. Do you know what year to look for? What doesn't have all the extra emissions that robs all the power? Anything post 73 is going to be loaded down with emission stuff, but you could remove all of that. It's very enough to it's easy enough to detect or de-smog one of those cars. Kelly's Cars is an RB383 worth building, not unless it's just a restoration. It's a great daily driver type of motor, but the bore is way too small to be effective. Paul Cabazol, great news about the revived direct connection. Hope that they will still support 60s, 70s Mopars. Probably not likely. I mean, you realize you're talking about the newest of them is 50 years old. It's hard to, unless, I mean, there are companies like Honda and like Royal Enfield that'll support stuff that they built eons ago. But I seriously that Chrysler's going to have very much support for the older style stuff. Cold War Motors, what's happening? I remember a guy in high school had a stock 318 2-barrel with a 69 satellite, and he put a Comp 292 to make it sound badass. It was the slowest car in town, right? Yeah. You get out and walk alongside of it. But it sounded like an earthquake, right? Joseph Fredo, what's your plans for the tunnel ram build? I'm going to do a whole video on that. I want to talk about it right now. I'm going to do a whole video on that. Abel D, UT, does Tennessee have smog regulations? What's your cutoff for hot rodding a car in Cali? We have to get anything pre-75. This is like the land of the free, man. It's like, yeah, there's oh God. Pre-75, as long as post-75, it's got to have a catalytic converter. I mean, it's a really liberal sniffer test. It's not very stringent. They don't care about what it looks like under the hood. And a lot of the counties here, especially like the county I'm in now, they're doing away with inspection altogether. So it's not a problem. Martin Hildebrand, thank you for the super chat, brother, man. I very much appreciate that. Tony, just bought a Schneider hydraulic roller from a 383. Can I degree the cam with a solid flat top at lifter? Cost me $1,000 for the cam and lifters. No, you can't. You can't. You need to have you need to degree it with roller lifters. It's going to be you're degreeing from split overlap, and the rate of the ramp is going to be affected by the contact point of the lifter. So if it's a roller cam, you have to degree it with roller lifters. You can't use a flat topping on it. Let's see. Rocky Myers emissions. Heck, they don't care about license plates there. They really don't. I got to tell you something. About the cops in Tennessee, man. The cops in Tennessee, they are they just are fantastic, man. Unless you're like doing donuts on small children, they will leave you alone. If you got a cool car, you got an old car or anything, they'll just kind of like wave at you, right? I mean, even the troopers, they're all really cool people here. I'm not saying, okay, I shouldn't say all of them. I'm sure there are some that aren't, but for the vast majority of them, they leave you alone. They don't care. They're car people. They're far more likely to give you a thumbs up than pull you over and harass you for a loud exhaust or something sticking out of your under your hood. I think I missed a super chat here. Joel Woody, thank you, sir, for the super chat. I'm putting a 400 Mopar engine on my 66 Charger, needing to do a rebuild or even a stroker kit. What would you recommend, and what's your thoughts on the 400? I happen to love the 400. The 400, in my mind, is the happiest of all the big block Mopars. It's hard to go wrong with the 400. I have a 400 in my 68 Roadrunner, which is just sitting under cobwebs. The car has left the garage in years, but they run really strong, really happy. You could put a stroker kit. The best combination, the cheapest combination, the most flexible combination, the one that isn't going to tear itself up, is the 452, which is simply a 30 over 400 block, just a clean up bore, right? I mean, you could even do it smaller, right? But a 30 over 400 block with a 440 crank. You take a stock 440 crank, you turn it down, you use the short 383 400 connecting rods, and the only expensive part of the whole thing is the pistons. You got to buy a set of custom pistons for it. But most of the piston manufacturers have them on the shelf because it's such a common build. That's the one I would do. Okay, let's see. How do I get rid of that? Uh-oh. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. Liqua Molly. Mike Batista, I imagine the southern states are like the Dukes of Hazzard. No, not at all. Actually, this is okay. So I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, or I'm just south of Nashville, Tennessee, and where I live now is New York City in the 70s. If you and I can't tell you how it was in Chicago or California or anything like that, but if you want to know what the general like vibe of life was like in New York in the 70s, well, welcome to Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see. Annie Boyd, Uncle Tony got me a jar of marinated artichokes, and they're damn good. Artichoke hearts. See, a whole artichoke, you have the leaves, and you suck the meat off the leaves. You scrape it off with your front teeth, and then when you're all done with that, then you get to the heart. But yeah, they're delicious. I know. Abel, do you have you ever relined your brake shoes? No, I spring for the $16 and get them at the auto parts store. So I'm not sorry I'm late. I watched the Slant 6 video. How was it? Was that a good video? I think it was good. Holly Rock, Mount Juliet here. What is happening? Representing Mount Juliet. Nathan Carey, what head should I use on a 1995.9? Want to get the Smog ones off of it? No. Not okay. Okay. They're not bad. Those heads are not bad. I forget the casting number. 308. Geez, I don't know, something like that. I mean, your best upgrade would be to a Magnum head, but those heads are not bad. They clean up with some porting. They're good heads. One thing you got to watch out for if you're going to try to retrofit earlier heads to a later roller small block like a 5.9 or 5.2, pre-Magnum but roller, so from 85 on newer. One of the things you got to watch out for is the push rod holes in the earlier heads. So let's say you want to put a set of X heads, J heads, you want to put in just any of those heads, right? The push rod hole is too small for the roller push rods. I mean, see, the roller sticks out of the block even more than the flat top it, and because you got a 59-degree valve angle instead of a 90-degree valve or 45-degree valve, 45-degree, the push rod comes out in an angle. So when you go to put an earlier pre-roller head on a roller block, you've got to oblong those holes or the push rods will bind up on you. So keep that in mind as you're looking for heads. Let's see. Rocco Zito, what's a good street grind for a 69 340 4-speed 355 gear 971 compression ratio? Off the top of my head, I can't think of the specs, but the 1968 340 4-speed cam. Go Google that now. Find out what the specs are on that cam. That's the one I've got in my 73 Roadrunner. I've got that cam in there. What a sweet running thing that is. And all of the happiness of a stronger cam with none of the side effects. It was just you drive down the road like it's nothing. So look into that. It's 1968 340, 1 year, one combination only. 1968 344 speed. Nathan Miller, Vice Grip Garage is now in Tennessee. Any chance of y'all making a video together? Derek has my number. If he wants to do anything, he's just got to call me or text me. Matt S. Heard the 308 castings flow great when ported, just seal up the smog ports. Yeah, I hear the same thing. And I've got a set sitting inside that I'm going to do something with, but it's like it's way down the road. I've got too many other things going on first. Let's see. Bruce W. Tony, didn't you have that issue with the bottle? Yes, I did, because I used an earlier head. And when I went to the roller, it stuck out even further. So I had to oblong those holes. Abel DUT, what do you think you'll be asking Santa for Christmas? A 426 Hemi? No. A helper, a really good helper. That's what I'll be asking Santa for Christmas. 68340 cam is the Little Red Express cam. Yeah, that's right, Mike. Let's see. Doug Nard, UTG, do you grind off the casting flash on your engine blocks? If it's a serious motor, yes. Rambrute, the Hemi has a valve train, is a nightmare. It's not just the valve train, it's all of the little idiosyncrasies of them. And the thing that I don't like about the Hemi is that, like for instance, you got a bad spark plug tube. You cannot, we just had that happen with Andy's Hemi. We found out after we warmed it up and everything, went to change out the plugs, top the valve covers off, and one of the spark plug tubes had literally filled with oil. So where did this come from? So when we took the spark plug tube out, the bottom of the tube was deformed, and so it was letting oil getting up in there, right? Well, I mean, if it was a regular, a Saint 6, any other engine, you wouldn't have a problem. But with the Hemi, it's like a little stupid little thing like that is a major problem now, because no, where the hell do you get a freaking spark plug tube? Luckily, we had some, so we were able to change it out. But it's little things like that. You know what I mean? You want to set the lash on the thing, right? You know, you can't just run down to the parts store and grab a set of valve cover gaskets for it. It's little things like that just drive me out of my mind with those freaking engines. In my mind, the only place a 426 Hemi has any place in this world is when you're going to run it in extreme application. Other than that, I wouldn't want to be bothered with one. Rambrute, yep, change plugs in a Hemi, and now it smokes for 5 minutes. That happened to us too, because now we pulled the spark plug, didn't always fill with oil. Pull the spark plug out, and now all the oil drains into the cylinder. You know, we cranked it, but it's just going to pump it down into the exhaust. So when you restarted it, smoked for a good 5 minutes until it all burned off. And I was like, and we're looking at this like, is this a problem, or is it just residual smoke? Tone, Mr. Wolf, what made the Challengers and Cuda ride so poorly, not well engineered? They were cheap cars, man. They were cheap cars. When I say cheap, I don't even mean like dollar cheap. They were just built cheaply. Lots of molded plastic and like last minute low dollar, engineering for the windows, because that's a big thing with those cars, man. The window, you close the door and the window goes, even when they were new. I remember those cars when they were just like 2, 3, 4 years old, right? And you close the door and when the window goes, that's just the way they were built. Rocco Zito, Uncle T, 69 833 with newer mid 70 synchros. Newer stop rings still have grinding from second and third, except when you double clutch. Thoughts? Probably binding up. There's a bushing in there, and the bushing itself is probably worn or binding. It's cocked slightly. Unity Motorsports Garage. What is happening, brother man? Andy in the house. The smartest man on YouTube. Carburetor guy, like extraordinaire. Just experience up the wazoo, and he's buddies with David Vizard. Like, this is a brain trust that, like, you know what I mean? So go over there, Unity Motorsports Garage, give him a like, ring the bell, do all that other stuff. Let's see. Crazy Coffee, UTG. I just got an Offenhauser tournament from my 455 Oldsmobile with a 750 CFM carb and a Bassett scoop for $1,100. What's a Bassett scoop? I can't wait till spring to go to the track for the first time. You're gonna need more than that 750 to get to make that thing actually work, brother man. Much more than that 750. But yeah, Andy Wood might have some carburetor suggestions for you. Andy, Oldsmobile 455 tunnel ram, single 4-barrel, 750. Holly, what's his best bet for a carburetor? Mike Batista, is the 1970 Hemi Cuda the best Mopar of all time? It depends who you're asking. You know, what do you define as the best Mopar of all time? You know, what criteria are you applying to it? Abel, the UT, did you shake with the off-road and Jeep theme stuff or your system? No. I've got the Eep Hero on the side of the shop over here, and I've just got to pull the trans out of it. The pump and the transmission is dead, so I got to pull the trans and do that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Oh, Dallas is Dallas just jumped in there. American Hot Rod Association needs a 950 CFM on a tunnel ram on the 455. I agree. 950 would probably be about perfect. Derek Morgan, what do you think of the 70s non-smogger 5.9 360? They're great engines. Mr. Roder does know his GMs. Auto 1303. Tony, if Direct Connection offered you a Hellcat, would you review? No. I no interest in doing anything with a Hellcat. There are lots of other people doing many things with Hellcats. I have no interest in doing it. If I had to pick, okay, I don't have one. See, that's weird, right? I don't have one of these. If I had to pick one Mopar, because Mike Batista asked about the 70 Hemi Cuda, the best Mopar. If I had to pick one Mopar, I don't have one right now, and I may just cobble one together for myself because it is something I've been thinking about lately. 68, 69, okay, 69, 340, 4-speed swinger. Okay, if you've ever driven one of those cars or spent any time with one of those cars, I think you would agree with me. Out of the whole range of classic era Mopars, the 69 340 4-speed swinger hits all of the buttons just perfect. They run like they run beautiful. They have the right sound, the right feel, all the right ergonomics. They make all the right smells. Right? They have all the right looks from all the right angles and everything. 69 340 4-speed swinger. If I had to pick, so if you said, Tony, pick one car that you would say defines, the best of the classic Mopar era, I'm going to go with that one. The 69 340 4-speed swinger, not the GTS, a little too gawky and stuff like that. Not the 383. It was actually slower than the 340. The 69 340 4-speed swinger. Let's see. They run away from a lot of cars. Yes, they do. Crazy Coffee. Airbags are dangerous. They are. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. Airbags are dangerous. Airbags, what they leave out is that unless you drive like this, I drive and I always have driven with a hand resting on the top of the wheel. It's just the way I drive. Of 45 years of driving, that's how I drive. Okay. And in an airbag situation, that thing goes off. That airbag is putting your hand right into your forehead, at explosive speed. Yeah. I believe airbags are dangerous. I am not comfortable driving something with an airbag. We are like real men. Yes. Let's see. Rambrute, is there some kind of challenge with Dulcich and Freiberger? No, I am done with that crew. Yes, the XA does have an airbag, and no, I'm not happy about it. But I don't want to modify it. I like it stock. It's the way it's a 98, the one I've been driving, and I just don't want to modify it. I want I want to just leave it alone. That's the only thing I have with an airbag in it. Joe Brennan, good to see you too, brother. Left hand on top of the wheel, right hand to shift. Yep. Well, if you think about it, your hand at the top of the wheel gives you instant, right? So I mean, it's the only like if you're driving a drag car, there's only okay. I mean, if it's two-handed thing, you got a yoke, right? But those that's a whole different thing. That's very quick steering. But I mean, you drive on a full-size car, your hand has got to be on the top of on up here because it's the only way that you can make easy corrections as you're going down the track. Burnout Garage, hey Uncle Tony, when should you upgrade to a 3/8 fuel line? How far will the 5/16 line take you? The 5/16 line you could probably, and again, you see, there's really no direct correlation between fuel flow from the tank to the carburetor to horsepower. There is a correlation between fuel burned through the carburetor and horsepower, but there's no real correlation between flow from the tank to horsepower, if that makes any sense. But I would imagine 450 to about 500 horsepower is all you're going to support through a 5/16 line. Let's see. Safety glass. No, I always run a 1-inch line for gas. 1 inch. How much gas? I mean, that's when we were on nitro cars, we had 1-inch inside line. That's what I mean. I don't think you're going to be flowing that much fuel. Burnout Garage. Okay, so a hot 383 should be fine with a 5/16 line. Yeah, it should be. It should be. No, I have a 1-inch gas line on my Buick Century. Works great. Well, I mean, it's not going to work, but I mean that just seems like a lot of it takes a lot of pump and everything to supply to keep that 1-inch line happy and pressurized. And it depends on how much horsepower you're making. Half-inch, 5/8. I mean, even a 5/8 inside diameter line is just ginormous to feed gasoline through a carburetor. Yeah, Mike Batista 3/8 line is fine. I wouldn't go smaller. Well, I agree, but Chrysler products were built. Okay, the only Mopars, classic era Mopars that got 3/8 line were the Hemis and the 446 packs. Everything else, 444 barrel, all of the 383s, the 340s, all of them came with 5/16 inside line. And I need 1-inch line for the burnouts. Oh, okay. So you're one of them. You're doing that kind of burnout. You're doing like Australian burnout type or burnout competition type of stuff. Okay, that might be a different. I see. I'm not familiar with any of that. That might be the state of the art, the science. Well, yeah, Pentastar. It is a lot of fuel volume, but remember what these guys are doing now, right? They're whipping the car around. Okay, so if they've got the fuel tank at the back, there's centrifugal force making the fuel go every which way but straight. Now, if you're running a 1-inch line, you've got sufficient volume in the line to keep the pressure up when the fuel sloshes away in the tank. So you spin in this way, all the fuel goes this way, the pickup can become uncovered with fuel, but there's so much volume in the line, it'll keep everything running until you swing back the other way and the pump can get wet again. So is that the correct oh god, I forgot his name, I'm sorry. No, is that the correct thing? Zero, what's happening, bro? I didn't even see you in there. Smokey Unic was ahead of his time on giant fuel lines. Well, that was to get around capacity rules. They ruled that you could only have 22 gallons on the car, so he snaked another however much fuel line through the car, big diameter line, to get like another 2 gallons in. Mike Batista, oh man, everyone hates them bolt-on fuel injection kits. Brother man, I don't think they're worth the packaging that they're shipped in. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you. Rambrute, any engine dynos near you? Any plans to visit one? I have none near me. There's a couple of chassis dynos, but this 383 that we're going to build for Slaghammer, that Al and Ethan are going to go run. That is going to go on a dyno. I have no idea which dyno it's going to go to, but it's going to go to a dyno. Nathan Kerry, Tony, you should build a 440 on your channel. We have other cars that we will be bringing into the system, but first we have to get our car, the current fleet of projects and everything. We've got to get them all tight and out into the world, and then we can bring more stuff in and do a 440. Martin Hildebrand, does anybody have a single Mopar solid roller lifter for sale? Martin, before you go getting a random solid roller lifter, the diameter of the roller makes a difference. There's different diameter rollers. It's like 700 and there's like 750 or 780. I don't even know. But there are different diameter rollers. So make sure to measure the diameter of your roller, your existing one, before you go looking for just a random roller lifter. Evening, ORC. UT, do you think a propane conversion is worth it nowadays with fuel prices? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see. New Old Sporty Cream Dream. I love that bike. Uncle Crystal was here before. She was printing off some shirts, and she hadn't seen the bike, and she walked in. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And she's not a motorcycle person, you know. And she walked into the shop and she's like, "When did you get this?" I says, "Don't you even watch our videos?" She's like, "When did you get this?" I was like, "I got it 2 weeks ago." And she was like, just looking at it. She's like, she loved that bike. It's a beautiful bike. I really looked into that. Mark Walters, thank you for the super chat. 69 Sports Satellite, 2-barrel, 318 with a 904 and 8 1/4 rear. Cars squared away. What should be my first engine mod? What should be your first engine mod? Geez. Your bottleneck on that engine is going to be the exhaust. Okay, though if that thing is completely stuck, your bottleneck is going to be the exhaust. It is very small exhaust manifolds, small runner exhaust manifolds. They really don't flow well at all. And any modification you do to that on top of those original exhaust manifolds is you're just wasting your time. So if you're going to modify the car. And honestly, I really don't recommend you modify that car. If it's complete, I just use it as a runner and find something that isn't, to modify. But if you're bent on modifying that particular car, headers would be, it would be your first most effective step. Zach Alamander, whining sound coming from Suburban Rear End only under load when I hit the gas. Is this something I need to fix immediately? Local mechanics said maybe spider gears. Spider gears don't make a whine. Bearings make a whine. Pinion bearings make a whine. Only on acceleration. Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. Deceleration is yes, it could. Okay, so pop the drive shaft off, right? Check your backlash, right? Now that's got a crush collar. So if when you turn the yoke, like, it's like there should be resistance, like there shouldn't be. If you're probably if it's enough to make a whine, it's enough that if you grab the yoke coming out of the pinion, where the drive shaft bolts on, if you grab it, if you can move it in and out at all, even just the slightest, tiniest bit, if you can move it in and out at all, that's your problem. Eureka 7-way. Fangle Tony, for removing an engine for a rebuild, easier to remove the trans as well or leave it in the car to join it when you finish? No, I try to leave the trans in the car. It's just one less thing, unless you're going to service the trans. It's just one less thing cluttering up your shop. Just leave it in the freaking car. Mr. Will, Tone, Big Chief is running 20% nitro in his Pontiac, according to his last video. Is that a lot or a little? How much nitro did you run back in the day? I ran between 85 and 100%. All of the cars that I worked with at the time were running the can. 85, 86 was the minimum, and 100% was as far as you want to go. But it's kind of hard to like. 20% is as far as you can. Okay, so here's the thing. Nitro is a funny thing, and I did a video on this. Nitro is a funny thing. Lower percentages, like for instance, like a lot of sprint car guys run like 7%, 6%, 7%, 8%, just to tickle it. Lower percentages will run fine as a fat alcohol tune-up, and that goes up to about 20%. Then from 20% on, you run into this weird zone where you're talking about 40, 50, 60% nitro, and they don't run right. Because lower percentages, you're essentially running an alcohol motor and spoofing it up a little with nitro. You have to go clear to like 75 to 80% before it's a nitro motor running with a lot of alcohol. So it's that middle range that a lot of damage and detonation happens. At 20%, he's probably like skirting right on, like if he's running 20%, he's doing it consistently. He has a razor sharp tune up on that thing, because that is a very detonation prone thing. Back when IHRA started running the nitro coupes, I was still involved in drag racing at the time, and I used to talk with Bill Coleman a lot. And Bill Coleman was trying to run that nitro coupe class, and that was 20%. And I spent a lot of time on the phone with him, going back and forth, trying to figure out how to get this thing done. He had a room, like he had just stacks of burned pistons everywhere. It's just not 20% is a brutal thing to work with. So if Big Chief is running 20%, he's doing it consistently, he's sharp. He's on it. Dalton Peterson, thank you, sir. Can you tell me what rear end in a 65 Buick Wildcat with a 401 nail head and a 400 turbine trans? It's got a 308 gear. Can I tell you which rear it is? Dalton, I cannot. But Dallas, if are you here, Dallas? I need you, Dallas, to answer Dalton Petrion's question. I was afraid people were going to ask me Buick questions. Zach Alamander, is the pinion bearing going to be catastrophic, or do I have some time to keep driving until I get into the summer? Oh, okay. The answer for your Buick, thank you, Dallas, is a 9 3/8 rear. What an odd! I've never even heard of that one. Let's see. The pinion bearing, back to the pinion bearing. Because it's cocked, it's wearing the teeth on the ring and the pinion, right? It's not a good, it's not a good thing to do. It's not a good thing to do. Meth injected. Chief said it was 30% in his video last night, not 20. It's quite possible. See, here's the difference between what they're doing today and what we were doing back then. When we were on a nitro, it was mechanical fuel injection only. We had data recorders, so we could measure all of these different things, but we had no control over it because mechanical fuel injection is literally, when you're talking about a nitro motor, it's like a garden hose, bro. It's a garden hose. We had very little, we had no way to alter timing or anything like that. Now, it's very possible that somebody like Big Chief or any of these guys that are running percentages of nitro today can, through the computer, bring the timing back, bring the timing up. They can do things in terms of a tune-up that when this originally came up, it didn't dawn on me that yes, they're using a completely different type of system that we had available to us back in the day. So yeah, it's very possible he's running 30%, and he's probably very aggressive on the ignition timing. You know, where to put the ignition timing to keep the thing happy. He can make it swing back and forth. We can only make it go one way. Zach Alamander, can I go in and replace just a pinion bearing, or is it going to be a major can of worms? Well, yeah, it's kind of a can of worms because it's a crushed collar rear. So, yeah, oh God, yeah, it's gonna be a job. It's gonna be you're not gonna. There's no simply. It's gonna have to come apart. You can do it yourself. There are videos that will show you the exact step by step that you have to do that. You can do it yourself. You don't really need much in the way of special tools to do it. But yeah, man, it's not going to be a simple thing. You're not going to be happy. Tony, my Tata three-wheeler is running on 2 cylinders. It's smoking real bad on takeoff. There's a whine coming from the rear. When I put 20% nitro in it, it goes well, but melts the block. Any suggestions? Cover it with mozzarella. The mozzarella has amazing cooling properties. So if you're running a high percentage of nitro in your Tata, definitely encase it in mozzarella. Charlotte Quillen, I just watched your slant reversion video. I lost it over that cloud. Did you see that? Did you see that? I completely see. There was a video we just put out today, right? Did you see that? I had to watch that 100 times, right? I kept watching that poll over and over and over again, and it was like, wow. Okay, because the thing with that, man, if you watch that video and you pay attention, and they got the camera angle perfect, where you're looking right down the throat of the carburetor of the velocity stack. If you watch that video, I watched that video 100 times. Okay, and it completely illustrates that whole sonic tuning effect, right? Because you can see it come out, you don't see it go back, but you can literally, that is it, man. That is RAM tuning or the sonic pulse in action in a way that I've never seen it before. Now, maybe some of you guys have. I haven't. That was really interesting video. Meth injected. Actually, since UTG mentioned it, I've never heard of much between 20 and 80% nitro. Yeah, no, I know. It's something I spent a long time. I spent a lot of years, man, doing just that. I would bet there is still something to what he said, even though it's all fine tuning as possible now. But that's it, man. I'm telling you, because they can play with the ignition curve. We set the mags for, when it was a single mag, 65 degrees, double mag, 55 degrees. I mean, and that was it. That's what we had to live with. If you're running if you're running a computer controlled ignition where you can alter the timing, you can put it, yeah, no, then you've got a completely different animal. Let's see. Doug Norden, Tony, you need a Model Slant 6 engine for the Sunday studio. Yeah, that would be cool, wouldn't it? I had one of those when I was a kid, the Visible Slant 6. Uh, let's see. Any tips for building a Ford Y block with dual fours? Don't expect to get a lot of power out of it. Do it because it's neat. Do it because it's nostalgic. Do it because it's just cool and you want some eye candy when you open the hood. But don't do it because you want to make power, because you ain't going to make power with that. Olive, how are you, Olive? Steve Menanti is apparently building a model slant now. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't talked to him. I got to give him a call. Steve will be on. We're gonna do this Thanksgiving Sunday night for the Thanksgiving weekend. Where Steve will be on again on. Okay, Joe Brennan. Why is it the parts these days never seem to just bolt on? That's never changed. It's always been like that. Otto, Tony, have you found any issues with reading plugs in ethanol gasoline? 10% ethanol? Not at all. That's all I use. That's all I use. Michael Pennington, Weber reversion, no tighter than 112-degree lobe separation angle, 115 best. Really? Really? Okay, that's Michael. That is extremely interesting to me. Can you, Michael Pennington? Could you please elaborate on that? Let's see. Now Dallas is saying, in regards to that Y block, there's a guy in San Diego that makes some Y blocks fly. Google Y block 32 Ford from San Diego, runs low sixes in the eighth. Oh, but what is that 32 Ford weigh? Is it a 2,000-pound car? You know what I mean? It's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, is it a 2,000-pound car with like a drag race suspension? It's a little bit different when you're sticking it in a 3,800-pound street car. Wild Rose Garage, Tony, building a Studebaker Lark with a 455 Olt for the strip. Would you go turbo, hydro 350, or power glide? I have both. I would tend to see. I mean, power glide is good for high horsepower cars, lightweight, high horsepower cars. So 600 plus horsepower, 3,000 pounds and less. Power glide is impossible to beat. Yeah, 455 is probably not going to make north of 600 horsepower, and the car you're putting in is probably much heavier than 3,000 pounds. I would go with the turbo 350. Charlotte Quillen, Tony, do you think he got that much reversion if he had used a good exhaust header? I don't know, Charlotte. That's one of the things. Like I said, I watched it. I watched the video. I speculated on it. I thought about it. I really have to sit down and dope that out. Like that's something I really need to go, because like I said in the video, is it possible? I don't know. Is it possible that the reverse flow head and the restrictive exhaust cause that much reversion? But then again, reversion really is not a factor of anything beyond, shouldn't be. Like for instance, the sonic pulses are not affected by any factor beyond the back face of the intake valve. So that's where I don't know, and I really got to dope that out. Uh, let's see. What's the matter with a power shift for the Studebaker? They were used on the R2s and R3s. I'm not familiar with that trans. Burned out garage. I've built many Y blocks and they are cool, and they are cool. Um, but they are junk. They never seal, and parts are expensive. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. It's like you guys like look. Okay, and Dallas said something about they built one for the Engine Masters competition. That's a whole different animal. That is high science. You know what I mean? So yeah. Let's see. Your name can be here for $20. Think it's the result of very short distance for the manifold. Well, I imagine that if he had velocity stacks that were significantly longer, you wouldn't see that effect. Um, RJ Paget, any tips on how riding a 2-barrel, or should I just go 4-barrel? It's on a stock 350 Chevy with a 4-speed behind it. A 4-barrel, like with a quadrijet, is a really good flexible for a stock motor. The stock intake manifold and a quadrijet is probably your best cheap easy to attain and set up and everything for that. Tony, is there any gains to adjusting the valve lash on a Slant 6 from the standard 10 to 20,000s? There can be. It depends on the grind. It depends. See, there's so many of that. That's one of those questions that it depends. It all depends. You want to run as tight a lash as you can get away with. So that it's just that's too much of a that depends question to like give a straightforward answer to. Let's see. Tankman 999. Can I keep the stock disc brake mounts on my 69 Vista Cruiser and get upgraded calipers? Bro, I don't know if you noticed, but like most of the disc brake conversion packages use the calipers that you've already got on that car. Bruce W. How's Paige's Chevy doing since you sorted the points issue? Man, she drives it every day. L. Spears, what are the differences between front suspension on 65 to 66 B body? The suspensions themselves are the same, but they moved the K-frame 2 inches further back. No, I'm wrong. The K-frame mounts in the same place. The motor mounts 2 inches further back. They have the same lower control arms, the same upper control arms, the same spindles, it's the same front suspension, just the motor is set 2 inches further back in the 66 than it is on the 65. GMG 254. Tony, do you have to time the engine after you replace the balancer and sensor? Now, see, so obviously using a crank trigger type of ignition because you've got this ignition sensor in there. Is it adjustable or is it fixed? If it's adjustable, yes, you do need to time it. If it's fixed, no, it's done. The computer will do all the work for you. Guilty or innocent? Innocent. And guilty. Guilty of being innocent. There you go. Joe K, question or thought on lightweight flywheel. An aluminum flywheel makes the car more rev happy, but the trade-off is more jerky to drive in first and second gear. Depends what you're looking for out of your car. I mean, if it's a daily driver that sees a lot of traffic, stop and go, and you're in and out of first and second gear a lot, then yeah, go with the heavier flywheel. If your whole thing is just to drop the clutch and bang gears, then the lighter flywheel. unless it's a really heavy car. Then you want a heavier flywheel. You know what I mean? So it just all depends. See, that's one of those things. Like the flywheel weight is going to be very specific to your intended use for the car, and B, the setup of the car. So, like for instance, small engine, heavy car, you definitely want a heavier flywheel. Don't worry about it being rev happy. You got to get the mass moving, so you need the heavy flywheel. Big honking engine, kind of lighter weight car, then a lightweight flywheel will get you that much quicker. It just depends on what you know what I mean? Crazy Coffee, the chain connects the torque converter to the transmission. You're talking about a Toronado or an Eldorado with the Hyvo chain? Those things are great. Uh, those chains are beautiful. Have you ever really looked at one of those chains, one of them Hyvo chains that they used in those? They're beautiful, right? They're just beautiful. Um, Luke Kieran, hey, do you run Rotella in your Jeeps? Yes, I do. Um, is it like a transfer case chain? Yes. So strongly use it in the Birchhaven motorhome. Stoic Steel, Tony, he plans to build a blower motor work pickup. Man, that is so specific, isn't it? No, I don't have plans for that. Okay. Um, George Jansen, Porsche 928 used a Bosch LH Jetronic EFI. Fun fact, which originally that Bosch Jetronic was originally the Bendix fuel injection that made its debut in 1958 on the Chryslers and the DeSotos. GMG 254. Do you have any videos on how to time an engine? Bro, yes, I do, but they're not. I don't think I have any specific videos on how to time an engine, but there are that I've covered that so many times in so many different things that we've done since we started this channel. It's in there, but I can't tell you where. Rocco Zero, Uncle T, your thoughts on the newer ABS to Edelbrock? I prefer the AFB style. They're not bad. I was never a big fan of the ABS. I mean, I can't say anything bad about them. You know what I mean? It's not that, it's not that I have anything against the ABS, or I look at them and say, oh, I hate the ABS. But I mean, I'm doing this for 45 years, and I can never remember a situation where I chose an ABS over an AFB. I've worked with ABSs when that's what the car came with, but I've never once considered using one, when the AFB just works so well. Steve Byko, Tony, how's it going, man? Anybody beat up on any electric cars lately? They're as fast off the line, but always run them down. Tell that to the guy in a plaid. You're not going to run that thing down, bro. That's just not going to happen. You know, buy his trapezoid. Hey, Tony, when are you going to do a video on spark plug reading? I've done them, man. I did one recently. I don't remember what the name of it was. It was tuning by eye. Tuning by eye was, well, no, that's the thumbnail. Yeah, geez, I did it. I'm going to say within the last 2 months, we did a thing on reading spark plugs. Cold War motors. Any difference between a 273 and a 272 Commando engines other than cam and intake? Can I make one from the other, or is it just easier to start with a high pro example? Yeah, the pistons. The regular 273 is 9-1, and the Commando is 10 1/4 to 1. So yeah, the pistons are the main difference, and the Commando had a windage tray also. Crazy Coffee, you teach it. Do you hate the EV swaps as well? I hate EV swaps. See, I don't hate them. I don't. I would not go out of my way to do it myself. I am intrigued by what can be done, and I I don't have anything against them. It's like I know I'm supposed to be caveman. I hate anything new, right? I'm really not like that because I don't think of electric cars as being new. I think of electric cars as being ancient technology that's being played with today. So in my mind, honestly, I swear to God, right? I know this is going to sound crazy. My brain maybe doesn't work like everybody else's. I see things a little weird, okay? But in my mind, electric power and steam power kind of like fit that same category. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, it's not that it's like electric cars are actually something from the distant past that people are playing with now. So I don't necessarily hate EV swaps. I found that what they did with Project X to be vile because that was done to make a statement. That was a political thing that they did. That had nothing to do with just the mechanics of sticking one type of power plant into another type of car. So you can't confuse those two things. But no, I have a hard time hating EVs. I don't hate EVs. To me, EV and steam, they occupy the same space. We got a super chat from Brian Rose. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Be the shroud. Yes, Zero. Be within the shroud. Fubar putting up the link to the merch again. Thank you, Fubar. Thank you. Ido 1303 Tony, torque converters, lockup or non-lockup? Depends. It just depends. Mike Batista, you can honestly say you hate EV. Bro, I mean, you know what I mean? People are strong on either side. They either love EV or they hate EV. And I respect both ends of it. You know, I get it. I can see both sides. I'm in the middle. You know what I mean? I'm in the middle there. It's neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned. What I don't like, what I find bad about EVC, it's not, again, man, it's not the motor, it's not the batteries, it's not the concept, it's none of that. None of that bothers me. What bothers me is the fact that the technology that exists cannot support what people want to see done. The grids cannot support it. The landfills can't support it. The fire departments can't support it. There are so many drawbacks to these things that are like immense drawbacks that are being completely glossed over in the name of politics. That's what I have a problem with as far as EVs go. If you're talking about just whatever kind of car that you're driving down the road, so if you go buy, let's just say you go and you buy a new Toyota, whatever it happens, you go buy a new Honda Accord, right? So I don't even know they make the friggin' things anymore. You go buy a new Honda, right? Or you buy the version that has an EV motor in it. Can you tell the difference? Can you does the modern, like fully, equipped internal combustion engine feel, sound, act, or do anything that's that radically different than an EV? You probably couldn't tell the difference. So in that case, it makes no difference to me. When you talk about hot rods, I mean, it just depends. It all just depends. Crazy Coffee, correction. I don't hate EVs. I hate the lies around them. Thank you. You surmised what I was trying to say. You're right. Dave Kuhn 13 sent me $5. Thank you, sir. Andy's saying, to me, driving a hot rod is an experience. If Casper was silent, I would hate it. Andy, I'm with you on that. I'm more of a mechanically oriented person than a driver, meaning I like to work on them more than I like to drive them. But I totally get what you're saying. But at the same time, right? If if there was a clique of electric car people at the track and they were having fun with their shit and they had tight competition going, right? It would be fun to mix it up with them. You know what I mean? It's like it's just another dimension to the world that we know to the hobby that we're in. But I mean, I do agree with you, Andy. I mean, I'm an internal combustion. I love I love internal combustion engines. You know what I mean? But I don't hate other forms of propulsion. Brian Rose sent me $5. Thank you, Brian. Hey, Tony, you were invited to a fish fry. Bro, I don't eat fish. You can sit and chit chat about cars while we listen to Lennox give a tribute band. Thank you for the invitation, my brother. I appreciate that. Unbiased. If you can't find an original engine, why not go EV? I mean, I agree with you. Fast Staying 85. Talk to any of the people who drive them. They are clueless and brainwashed. Not all of them, bro. Don't paint everybody with the same brush. That's not true. Look at somebody like Rich Rebuilds, who I know he put an LS in a Tesla. God bless him. That's awesome. But I would hardly call Rich brainless or clueless. The guy he's one of the most brilliant people on YouTube. Um, so you can't lump everybody into the same basket. Steve Pastori says I missed another super chat. Oh shit! Sorry about that. Thank you, Steve. Lloyd Hodge sent me $5. Thank you, sir. My daughter is swapping a 440 she built into a 78 Dodge truck. Will her 400 flex plate work on the 440? The flex plate will work. The balancing is going to be yes. The balance is also going to be the same. Yeah. On the balance, there are two balance rates on the torque converter, one on either side of the oil drain plug, and yes, that's going to be the same between the 400 and the 440. And actually, if you want to make life easy for yourself, you can use that 400 damper on the 440. The 440 has this giant, huge, and I'm assuming that you're using a cast crank 440. All right. If it's a steel crank 440, knock the weights off the flex plate. If it's a cast crank 440, the weights are going to be the same. And you can use the 400 damper and pulley on that 440 crank. I hope that answered your question. Crazy Grove, hey, UTG, should I let my pet python drive my Toronado? He keeps asking. I mean, yeah, if you've got an English-speaking python, of course, let him drive the damn thing. Meth injected, sorry and no diss, but people that want to still burn coal are special, aren't they? Bro, I mean, I'm not a you know what I mean? That's beyond my realm. I don't know. I okay. As far as environmental things go, I've said this before, and I'll say this again, right? And I stand by it. I want to care. You know what I mean? I sincerely want to care about the environment and the freaking whatever it is that they're going through now. It's acid rain, now it's global warming, global cooling. I want to care about that stuff, but I just don't have it in me. So, it makes no difference, man. Burn whatever the frick is going to get me down the road, right? It's extremely selfish, but that's my stance on it. I don't care. I wish I cared. I can't care. I just don't. I'm an environmental sociopath. Doug Gardner, from what I understand, an electric motor has a happy zone for RPM, can't rev it like a gas engine. Ultimate torque at 0 RPM. I mean, if you're a gearhead, man, you can really appreciate that. But yeah, there are Andy. I just sort of see. This is a hard thing to do by yourself because I'm reading questions and trying to answer other things at the same time. Full power at 0 RPM is a pretty cool thing to, like, you know what I mean? So okay, Andy. Tony, you up for the jet change challenge? Andy, yes. Let's talk about that. I can't think about it right this very minute, but let's talk about it. Let's work that out. That could be a fun thing that we could all do over the winter. I'd like to get a lot of people involved in it. Doug Gidd sent $2. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Unbiased. RPM on electric engines will have a little bit to say in determining efficiency. Well, here's the thing about electric cars and performance, right? So in a production type of car, in a heavy car like the Tesla, like the Plaid, right, which is just an astounding thing when you think about what this machine can do. It is astounding. I don't care what you're into, man. It's okay. But when you start to look at top end stuff, it looks like electric cars hit the wall. For instance, look at what Garlitz went through with his electric car, trying to be the first to. I know he may have gone 200 with it by now. I don't know. But he struggled for years to get to 200. And Garlitz is no dummy, and I'm sure he had plenty of help from people all around him. But he had a hell of a time getting that thing to 200 miles an hour. So there's evidently, talking just in quarter mile performance now, there's evidently a huge barrier between being able to run 140 in the quarter and run a 200 in the quarter, where a proper electric deal will knock out 140 mile an hour quarter mile. Mind blowing. Okay, that's mind blowing. I don't care who you are, right? And something like Garlitz with a specific built electric car with a specific goal, and he had a hell of a time getting to 200. So there is something about that. There is something there. Unbiased, yes, because drag increases by the square of speed. Okay. Fastang 85, the problem is degradation of the batteries from fast charging too often, etc. Yes, that's another fucking problem. Pentastar, the Harley Livewire my buddy has when I rode, it feels so fast. I'm sure it does. Yeah, evidently, just the electric motor doesn't want to RPM. So I imagine if you really wanted to go fast, right, with an electric motor, you would have to stack some overdrive units. You know what I mean, to keep it in its happy zone. So let's just say, I mean, I don't know, I'm pulling a number out of my ass, but let's just say it's 4,000 RPM where this thing is like maxed. Well, then you need to start stacking overdrive units to keep the acceleration rate up. Just joining. Where's the Buick, man? Dallas is home with a sick kid. But we've got his stand in here, and he's also in the chat. So if you need to ask Dallas any questions about his channel, he's got a new channel called Mr. Rodders Neighborhood, Rodders Neighborhood. If you got any Buick questions or any GM questions, or you want to direct anything to Dallas, he's here. He's hanging out in the chat. Steve Pike will just get a red eye. Yeah, you can do that too. Mo Pardin, thank you, sir. Watch Sandy Munro, well-known automotive engineer, and his interviews with Elon Musk, a real education of EVs. Okay, that sounds interesting. Dollar Brenton, hi, just finished the Australian Science 6 video. I remember seeing 60s Formula One clip that showed the same Italian rubber setup that spits fumes like an old one-cylinder sled because the mix is too rich for intake capacity. Well, no, see now he showed a plug, a run plug, and the coloring on it was like dead on, and it was after one of those runs with a lot of mist. So I don't know. I don't know. Um, Bottom shot. The Glenn Everett channel is pretty awesome. Glad you mentioned him. This was the first I've ever heard of him, so I'm going to actually catch up on his stuff. He does a lot of things with the Australian sixes, like the 265s, from what I could tell. So yeah, I mean, when I go home tonight, I'm going to watch some of his videos. Josh H., I see you've moved the suspicious big blue mic further away since Dallas is out. Yeah. Coldboard Motors sent for that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Cold War Motors. I reversed the pistons on my brake calipers, but it doesn't stop any faster. Thoughts? Well, you got to also tie the big rock to a chain and throw it out. Um, Silverbell, Tony, could you do a vid on machine shop scams and what to look for when choosing a particular shop for the first time? Possibly. I don't really know of any bad machine shops locally, so it would be hard for me to do a video like that. But basic good practices when bringing something to a machine shop, that actually might be a really valuable video. Let's see. Okay, what Dallas just said here, machine shop scams don't really happen, just bad work and poor quality. Dallas, that's not entirely true. I have seen machine shops literally, I mean, I've seen people take a block to a machine shop and they'll pick it up. So what was the bill? And like $2,700. What? Well, because if you just take a block and you say here to the machine shop, do whatever you've got to do, bro. They do everything. If you can imagine, they'll do it. John Wilburn said a machinist never found a surface that didn't need to be machined. So and that's not really a scam so much, but that is taking advantage of people's unknowingness. Frank Humphrey the Fourth, I like that. I mean, the Fourth Esquire, right? EV today are today's racer tuners. After a couple of years, they will be on the quarter racing like other racers. I know 440, 69 Barracuda. I agree, man. It's just part of the mix. I mean, gasoline is not going away in our lifetime. Internal combustion engines are not going away in a lifetime. It is unless you're talking about within a city, the confines of a city. So let's just say New York, right? Hellhole, scum bucket that it is, right? Let's just say New York City said no internal combustion engines within the city limits. Well, bro, there's nothing you're going to do about that, okay? But this is a huge country. It's a huge world, okay? And while it's very possible that major metropolitan areas will outlaw the use of internal combustion engines within those areas, that's not happening over the mass of land. So don't people who are like, there will be no internal combustion engines, there will be no gasoline. No, you have no grasp of how big and diverse and how essential the internal combustion engine is to just keeping the world running, right? So they can make all of the proclamations and all of the things that they want to, pass all those ones, but it's not going anywhere in our lifetimes. Don't stress that. Joe K, it's not just the states, cities, municipalities. Some car companies have stated no more sale of gas-powered vehicles as of the. Yeah, I know. And you know what's going to happen? The demand is still going to be there, and some other company is going to jump in and say, "Hey, we'll fill your demand, no problem." You know, these cars are legal to be sold in 49 states, whatever it happens to be, right? So some micro startup company in Wisconsin or Korea or Laos is going to jump in and say, "You want internal combustion engines? Man, we got your internal combustion engines," and they'll send them over. And so the market will always dictate. The market will always override regulation. It's that simple. Okay, regulate all you want, but the market will always override it. And when you make something completely illegal, well, then the black market comes in. People vote with their pocketbook, that and with their wallet. And that's the bottom line to this whole situation. Okay, let's see. Um, Douglas Filer, hydrogen as a fuel thing needs to be added, so they tend to always run lean because of high volatility like gas. I don't know anything about it. Beware the silent majority. Yeah. Well, I mean, bro, collectively, we are the silent majority. Paul Shea, Tony, can you do a video all the difference between a big block and small block bell housing on Mopars? I cannot do a video specifically about that because remember, this is a business and that would not get enough, excuse me, views to make it viable. But excuse me, that is something that we can include on. Actually, you know what? That's a good idea. Watch for future installments. So, like the next installment of the Junkyard Jet, we film that on Sundays, and I will remember to mention that because we're talking about bell housings, and I'll put the two side by side so you can see the difference between big block and small block. Mister, well, you don't like Kias. Oh. Eureka 7 wave. 727A block is a small block, and 727B block is a BRB. Yes. Well, they're all referred to as A727, but yeah, no, there's a big block and a small block version. Mike Batista, I know gas prices are going to skyrocket soon. In some places, yeah. I mean, hey, Ari, what's happening, brother, man? In some places, it already has. I mean, California is nuts with gas prices. We're like at 285 here in Nashville. Um, Meth injected. Was it just a bell housing that was different? Well, I mean, they had different levels of output. Like for instance, you have a slant 6 904 and a V8 904. Their internals are slightly different but interchangeable. And on the same thing on the big on the 727, you have the light duty one would be like a 383 two barrel or 362 barrel or something like that. And then you've got the heavy duty ones would be on 440s, 446 packs. You got the Hemi transmission, and again, all of the internals are interchangeable. Connecticut gas is $3.80. Yeah, that's about right. 366 there in PA. Yeah. Ari, Tony, hope all is well. Was stoked on your Roadrunner short. Kathy just whipped out the camera. I didn't know she was doing that. 404 in Wisconsin, 355 in Philly. Yeah. What do you think, guys? Should we start doing some gas mileage videos? Should we? That's something we've been talking about. Um, should we start doing some videos, classic car, vintage car, uh, making them a little bit more efficient in terms of gas mileage? Do you think there'd be enough interest in that for us to pursue that? More permission, yes. Uh, laugh out loud in the dock wheels, yeah. Um, Eureka 7 I love mile per gallon and smiles, yes. Um, yes, 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 yeah. Nothing wrong with efficiency. I agree. That's the thing. When you do stuff to increase gas mileage, you're also doing stuff that generally increases performance as well. The two they really do go hand in hand. Yes, mile per gallon videos. So what? So let me. So let's take this. Let's take this another step, right? Um, what would be more interesting? Would it be taking something, let's say, like my box truck, my carry vans, 318? It gets horrendous gas mileage. I mean, I'm talking like on the highway, you downhill, feather on the gas, it's 10 miles to the gallon, right? And the motor's tuned perfectly, right? Or would it be more interesting to take something, let's say, like a slant six and do like a hyper miler deal on it? Which would you guys think would be more interesting? Slant six would be super interesting to you. The box truck is like a brick. Yeah, but I mean, that's part of it, unbricking it. Both box truck, 318. Hypermile slant would be my choice for first. Hypermile slant, 3. Whoa, this is like right down the middle. High low mileage on heavy vehicles, yeah. Fuel efficient box truck. Okay, this is split pretty much down the middle. Box truck for me, since it would be hard to do. I agree. It's kind of a challenge. Probably achieve more success with the slant six. I agree with that too. Um, both slant and truck. I don't want to overdo it with gas miles. I don't want to become like the economy channel. But I mean, I think it would be slantified a box truck. That would really kill the gas mileage. John Wilburn, both would be great. I think the carry van, because of the tow rigs we use now, yes. The ultimate goal of the carry van is to use it as a tow rig. Uh, Dallas saying, let's build a hybrid with a slant six electric drive generator, Jesus, and a Tesla electric drive with batteries like a diesel electric submarine in a car. Start building it, Dallas. Make something that runs on weed. Dual slant six to box truck. Stefan Paul, I do have a 76 Ford Pinto MPG edition sitting. That had the little 1.6 motor in it, right? Time to dust it off, methinks. Yeah, I remember those cars. Carry van, very useful. Bruce W., what about you finish the tune in your 360 with 318 heads? I could. It's like she drives it every day. The problem with that particular one is that she makes very short trips with it all the time. Like it never runs long enough for the choke to actually open up and do all that. When I've driven the car, I very rarely drive the car, but when I've driven the car, it's in the high teens, like 18, 20, like that. But she uses it to run to and from like Publix, which is like a mile and a half up the road. So she'll run up there and turn around and come back, and the choke never opens on the damn thing. So it's like she gets horrible gas mileage with it. Joe Kingman's 455 in the carry van. Mr. Wiltone, will a supercharger on a Slant 6 help with gas mileage or any power error? Superchargers generally do help with gas mileage. They do because you're making the motor extremely efficient. But the problem is, how are you going to drive this thing? You're going to drive it like a blown car, or you're going to drive it nice and easy. You can definitely increase your anything that increases the efficiency of the engine can in theory increase the efficiency of it. The miles per gallon. So fuel injected slant, cooling fuel. I'm gonna okay. I didn't realize there would be so much enthusiasm for this gas mileage thing. So I'm down with that. That can actually be fun. Okay, so I would want to do the caravan for its practicality reasons for myself because I want to use it. And I generally don't use it because it just drinks it. So to work on the aerodynamics and all of that on that truck and try to get it, let's say, into the 15 to 18 mile per gallon range, I think for me personally, that could be useful. And then again, I've got Mrs. Landy sitting here in the shop. She's just sitting there. 64 slant six, it's a 170. And that could be a fun thing to do a hypermile on. So, yeah, both of those things could conceivably get done. Danny Boyd says aerodynamics will hit a mile per gallon wall on that box truck. Not if you work with the aerodynamics. Need now loading on the box truck. Turbocharge the slant six and compare the horsepower to mile per gallon. Just suck up behind a semi. Oh man, I draft like crazy. I know. You're literally moving a barn at highway speeds. I agree, but it can still be improved. It can still be improved, the aerodynamics. Do the slag hammer performance and economy. Well, as far as the slag hammer goes, Andy Wood, Casper, I would like to try to duplicate his tunnel ram setup, where he gets 16 miles to the gallon with that truck. So I would like to try to duplicate his induction system on that. So that actually will be part of it, making it as drivable as possible and get as best gas mileage as possible. Mrs. Landy needs the love. You are right, Stagger Proof. She really does. Superbird nose on the box truck. Wouldn't that be a kick in the ass? Daryl Ladd, internal differential cover of Chevys that sat for years is rusty. Can I just sand it and send it? Yeah, you'll be all right. Cecil Gilbert, electronic back to points, any wiring changes? That's an extremely broad question. But I mean, you want key voltage to the positive on the coil, and you want the points connected to the negative on the coil. There's all the wiring. That's it. That's all you need. Ironclad Ranch and Forge. Do you like the Chevy GMC straight sixes? Absolutely. The Ford, and I would say I'm a slant six guy. I love slant sixes, but I will be the first person to tell you that both the Ford and the Chevy are superior engines performance-wise to the slant six. I mean, honestly, a stove bolt is probably superior to it. A stove bolt is about equivalent to a slant six. Ford 300 for the win. Fantastic motors. UT, how's the TPG paint holding up on the Duster? Good. Good. Both cars is holding up very nicely. And I haven't washed or waxed either of those cars in over a year. And they both look good. Uh, Hemi 6, we never got them here. We never got them here. Uh, Ruggy Shore, you love stove bolts. Who doesn't? How can you look at a stove bolt and not love it? You know what I mean? I fall in love with everything. I have a problem. I'm a very damaged individual. So I fall in love with everything. How could anybody look at a fucking stove bolt and not fall in love with it? Olds 450, Nate B. Olds 455. Do you have to do the oiling mods when rebuilding one? You got to ask somebody who knows more about those engines than I do. Pentastar, you can hyper tune the Miata. No, it's got a 430 gear in it, really tiny diameter tires. Nah. Uh, Crazy Corp, UTJ, I like this doobie for you. Thank you. Ari, thanks for that, Tony. Look out my slow six. I love all engines. It's very hard for me to find an engine that I don't love. Chuck Idol, I'm in love with all flatheads. I'm also damaged. Flatheads are so beautiful. The thing about a flathead, man, the sound of a flathead, and I don't even mean the exhaust, right? The exhaust sound is so, but the sound of a running flathead with the with because flatheads resonate, man. Like there's just that piece of that piece of cast iron between the combustion process and your ears. They have that like. That's what I'm looking for, man. They just sound so. I could listen to a flathead anything run forever. They just beautiful. A guy's working on a flathead six engine, the floating power Chrysler, man. That's the motor that the Slant Six replaced. What an amazing motor that thing was. Just, I mean, no power, no power. Forget the power left. No, no, they didn't even take power into consideration when they built it. It was like strictly a longevity thing, and like those engines, they just bulletproof. Crazy Coffee Man, I love Flathead's best sounding one near me is a supercharged with dual quads and a bucket. That sounds neat. Fast, like put a flathead V8 on a loop and fall asleep to it. Oh man, you could do that. You could do that if you got like you're see people who are like of the modern era that don't have any like exposure to cars from let's say the 1930s, 1940s, early 50s when flatheads were the thing. Can't imagine how like pleasant those engines were. You could take a flathead, man. You take a flathead Ford and you could turn idle down to where like 400 rpm 350 rpm and they'll run like this. You'll watch the fan and the fan will just be going like this and the motor won't move. It'll be exactly perfect, just perfectly still, and they'll just sit there go. I mean, they're magic. They're magic. I saw a video of a turbocharged hit and miss engine. How would you do that? Travis Wright, Uncle Tony, have you run into deck surface cracks on the head bolts on Magnum 318 and 360s? If so, do you think it's possible overheating caused this? Yes, overheating is probably the cause of that. I have come across it, but it's rare, and not so much on Mopars. That was a common thing on which Ford motor was it? There was a Ford motor. I don't remember which one now. Now I got to go back to my 1980s mechanic days, and oh god, there was one of them that was very common that had cracked head bolts, head bolt holes. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. Uh, The Ford 400. Okay, that was it. Beacon Winter FTW, you should do a supercharged 5.2 or 5.9 Magnum build like a street truck. Well, we're doing a nitrous 5.9 right now with Junkyard Jet, and that will probably evolve as time goes on. I mean, I don't know exactly what direction they're going to go with it, but it's interesting stuff. Terry Littlejohn, interesting observation. Oh, Terry, how are you, brother? Um, the interesting observation on the Weber slant dyno. Saw it but never put it together. Nice, right? Right? Okay, right? I know. I watched that. I watched that 100 times, man. And I tell you, like the camera angles and everything are perfect to illustrate exactly what's going on with the power poles. Like though that video needs to be studied by anybody who wants to know anything about RAM tuning, sonic tuning, or anything like that. That video is like it needs to be studied. It's perfect. Joe Brennan, how much paint got scratched on the junkyard jet when mocking the engine and trans up? Wait till they start hitting the headers in. John S. Back from a flathead idle video. Do they have them? What are those videos? ASMR, and I don't remember what that stands for. The AS. Have you guys heard of this stuff? ASMR videos, and they're supposed to create a certain mental state, right? Um, uh, I think yeah, a flathead idling video would probably do that. Soothing, yes, soothing. CF Mechanic, yeah, I seen it. It's supposed to release stress and anxiety. Yeah, I'm telling you. Okay, Eureka 7 ways. Autonomous sensory meridian response. Well, BS Custom says it's auditory stimulation of some. Okay, makes your scalp tingle. Auto 1303. Could the Weber misting be reduced with a common airbox? The common airbox would act as a plenum, so I imagine yes. Ari, inline six raspberry exhaust video would just get you all jacked up. Fast dying. I used to fall asleep watching videos of people working on cars not talking, and I kept wondering why the hell are they putting me to sleep? Zero falls asleep listening to Converge. Olive says most of the things calling themselves ASMR these days kind of aren't, as far as I can tell. Well, Olive, would an idling flathead, the sounds of an idling flathead, do you think that would fit into that category? Mr. Will, thinner oil saves gas, right? Yes, it does. Bruce, how long have you been on for, and what's the next video coming up? I'm not sure about the next video coming up yet. It'll be tomorrow. I have a few ideas in my head. And we've been on for 1 hour and 53 minutes, which means that I'm getting ready to pack it in. Flathead straight eight sounds nice. Cold War Motors was here before. That's their thing. Olive says, I think just because we like a sound doesn't mean that it does that particular trick. Well, let's find out. Let's find out. Unbiased. Why does oil thinner save gas? Easier flowing oil. Yes, less parasitic loss, less parasitic drag. So, all right. So, guys, that's we're coming up. We're coming up on that time. I'm about um, I'm about done. I've been talking, man. Oof. I miss Dallas. So yeah, I'm just reading questions. No, I don't want to hear the most irritating sound in the world. Fubar, thank you again for that. That's a link. Fubar just put up the link to our merch. So guys, Dallas wasn't here tonight, but he's been in the chat. Mr. Rogers Neighborhood. So especially if you're into Buicks and stuff, man, go there. Mr. Rogers Neighborhood. Go over there, sub, hit the do the things, all of the YouTube things you're supposed to do, right? Go there to Mr. Rogers Neighborhood and do that. This Sunday night is this regular Sunday night. I got nothing planned in between. Some video. Yeah, no, it's just gonna be a regular. Drag Bus Garage, thank you, sir. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. Listen to Converge, the Jane Doe album, Sleep Well. I'm gonna check that out tonight, brother, man. So yeah, so that's it, guys. I'm gonna call it a night. Our mods, our awesome mods. Thank you so much, Ari, John, Fubar Zero, the best. Dallas hanging at the house, taking care of his kids. Thank you, Dallas, for hanging out here and taking some of the Buell questions as they popped up. Yeah, man, coffee. I'm needing some coffee. I need some right now. So that's it. Everybody who contributed Super Chat, thank you so much. You have no idea how much we appreciate it. It keeps everything moving. And everybody contributed just with your presence and your conversation. I appreciate you equally as much. We have the best gearhead community on YouTube. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Our gearhead community will take on any other gearhead community in this entire thing, right? So I'm out of here, guys. Thank you again, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Sunday. I will see you. Thank you, and good night.